Hello everyone and welcome to the video introduction of the Brutus Monroe Embossing Powders. We have 3 embossing powders currently: penny, sterling, and gilded. They are a copper as well as a beautiful silver and a gold. In this video I'm going to review with you all of the embossing powders that we currently offer. All of these are metallic embossing powders and they are very highly metallic, almost looking like foil. So here I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to take the embossing powders and I am going to just do a quick swatch with them. The first one here that I'm doing is the gilded color, which is a very vibrant gold. And I'm also going to, of course, go ahead and do the sterling as well as the penny. So I'm just doing a little swatch of Versamark, the watercolor ink pad, and putting the 3 colors on there. So now we have sterling as well as gilded, and now penny is the last one that I'm going to actually go ahead and put onto our piece of paper here. Now I'm going to, of course, just brush off the embossing powder. It's very easy to do. And now you're going to see me heat set the actual powders so we can see exactly how vibrantly metallic they are. And you'll see here heat setting them, obviously you'll just use a heat tool and you'll just go over top of course, the embossing powder. And once you have gone over top of the embossing powders, you will see that the shine from these metallics are very I guess you would say very metal-like. And once I'm finished up here doing the heat setting, I'm going to actually show you. I'm going to kind of move the paper here so you can see exactly how vibrant they are. And they truly do look like almost a foiled or metal finish, which was very important to me when choosing the Brutus Monroe embossing powders, because I wanted them to be very metallic if I was going to choose the metallics. And then here, of course, are the jars next to their respective color. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 2 fun techniques that I like to do with the embossing powders. Of course, in the future I'm going to show you tons and tons of techniques with these embossing powders, but first I wanted to show you just 2 that I really wanted to try out today. First, we're going to be taking the Flowered Sentiments set from Brutus Monroe. This set offers you obviously the flowers as well as the sentiments, the vase of flowers. And what I'm going to do here is I actually could not find my large stamping block. Right now my desk is an absolute mess with all of the products and designs and things like that. So I went ahead and just used the top of my embossing powder case that I have that I've shown in other videos, and this will just work just fine. If you're ever in a pinch, you can use a cuddle bug, a plate, you can use lots of different, it just has to be a non-porous clear material so you can see through it. I'm just inking up the stamp now with the Versamark, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to press that down onto our piece of 110 pound, actually 140 pound, excuse me, Canson watercolor paper. It is my favorite. It's what I've used in a lot of different videos, and you won't be able to see anything now, but once I go ahead and put that embossing powder over top, and I believe I'm using the gilded embossing powder here. Let's take a look. Yep, I'm using the gilded embossing powder, and do not ever feel like you're going to be wasteful by pouring out almost the entire jar on top of your project, because you can always just put it right back in what you don't use. So I'm just flicking the paper there and getting the other embossing powder off that we don't need, and now I'm going to go ahead and heat set it, and of course we're going to see that vibrant metallic again with the heat setting, and it only takes a few seconds. Also with these embossing powders, they are all fine detail embossing powders, so you'll see that you can get a really good detailed image with them as well whenever you're doing the embossing. So now what I'm going to do, excuse me, is I'm going to take just some regular everyday watercolors. These I actually believe I got at Michael's. They're like the artist edition. I can't remember what they're called. They were very inexpensive. And I'm just going to go ahead and take some watercolor, and I'm literally just going to kind of smush it all over the page. I'm going to use 2 different colors. I'm going to use a blue, a very dark blue first, and I just need to add a little bit more water here, and I'm just going to go all over the image. And you kind of, there's no rhyme or reason to this, because with these embossing powders, the metallics, they are going to resist this paint. So the watercolor will move all around the actual embossing powder as opposed to stick to it. So once we have all the color that we want added onto there and you heat set it, and you'll see me do that here in a second, the embossing powder again is going to resist that color. So whenever you see it kind of all over it right now, don't worry, it's not going to stick onto the embossing powder. Once you heat set it and everything kind of starts to dry, you'll see that the gold is going to really shine through on this project here. And I like this for a very quick and easy card. Once it's heat set, again, you will have that resist from the embossing powder, and you can just go ahead and cut this out real quick with a trimmer, and you'll be able to put a sentiment underneath of it. And this is a very easy, very simple card front to do that literally took probably, I'd say, 3 minutes with the stamping and everything like that. And of course, with this as well, you can go ahead and stamp it out in the gold and then actually paint with watercolor the actual flowers. So you would have a different technique obviously there. Now we're moving on to a jewelry box here. This is a very expensive jewelry box that I purchased, and I'm just using the Ranger paint dauber in black tie, and I'm just quickly kind of smushing that all over the top of the jewelry box. What I wanted to do here is I wanted to turn just a plain white jewelry box into a really cool kind of vintage looking silver box, and with the black underneath, that's really going to help us to make the vibrancy of the metallic really shine through. Obviously, if you use white, you're going to see the metallics as well, but with the black background, it also works very well with glitter, that you will see an awesome result with anything metallic or shiny or glitter with the darker background. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my Versamark ink pad again, and I'm just going to haphazardly smush it all over the top of this box. Again, remember, I want this to look like a vintage found jewelry box, and I don't want it to look like that plain white box any longer. So I'm just going to take that, smush it all over the top there, take our sterling embossing powder and put that all over the top. Just kind of pat that off there, and those little areas that are missing, I like that because it looks like some of the metal has actually worn off of the top of this box. So I'm just going to go ahead and put my embossing powder back into my jar, and I'm going to take my heat gun again, and I'm going to go ahead and heat set this, and you'll see very quickly how really shiny we're going to this box, excuse me, will become, and it will look like, again, a vintage or a really cool vintage old jewelry box. This kind of reminds me of some jewelry boxes that I've seen at estate sales, where again it's the top kind of metal is a little bit worn off the metal plating, and you see that you get a very beautiful vintage shine. I'm just placing it back on the bottom, and that's it for today. I thank you so much for watching, and you have a great day.